we are going to be going into a Kauai tour and workshop. And I would like, at this time, I would like to feature Tim, who will be on the tour and the workshop, and also Dottie and Dr. James Keach. So let's let it roll.
Excellent. Welcome to this section of the HFNA celebrations. We are on the island of Kauai. We are going to be touring some nurseries and experiencing some close-up, hands-on experience with some plants and beautiful blooming plants at the nurseries that are right here on the island of Kauai. And then we're going to finish up with a great hands-on workshop where we're going to focus on using these beautiful tropical flowers in some unusual design styles, where we're going to teach about some of the elements and principles of design in order to up the skills of the designers that are coming here for the workshop. So thank you for joining us. We're hoping you all get a lot out of this and learn something about design and leave this seminar being a better designer than you are coming in. We had the pleasure of visiting the Kauai Seascape and Nurseries, where I've seen some things that just thrilled me. I took some great pictures myself, actually.
So, just a little introduction. Kauai Seascapes Nursery. It's been in operation for some time now, but it's really blossomed into a full-scale retail nursery within the past 12 years. The owner used to just have more of a private nursery, and now it's open to the public, and it's really expanded in that time. We have about 5 acres, everything from 3-inch pots to full-scale field stock, and we also do landscape installation projects as well.
There was a beautiful jade vine that was in full bloom at the time, and the beautiful turquoise color blooms were just cascading down from the host tree that it was climbing on. I saw some philodendron leaves that were bigger than half of my torso, which was really a treat for me. There was also some brand new varieties of hibiscus that they were growing, and some beautiful begonia plants and orchids that, again, I've never seen before. So visiting this nursery was a real treat.
They're all terrestrial or ground orchids, and I'm sure James will be able to give you a lot more information. You are off island. Unfortunately, you cannot take anything with you.
We're not.
Inter-island might be easier. If you live on the mainland, a little bit more tricky.
Should I just grab it and put it on the side?
Yeah. One that's called
Mellow yellow.
mellow yellow. And you know, to me, mellow yellow, pineapple, not a huge difference, but the mellow yellow, a little bit of pink in that, I think.
We have
I
the
like
purple
the
one.
with the. It's good.
I can't
I
smell
know
it.
the smell. I know. I have.
So hi, I'm Tim Farrell, and I'm here with Rob Malhotra at the Kauai Seascape Nursery. And we're up on a hill here. It's in the beautiful island of Kauai. And we just took a fantastic tour of this nursery where they have so many beautiful plants for people on the island to come and to buy for their landscape needs, and some just beautiful flowering plants growing as well too. So between the foliage and the flowers that we've seen, everybody on our tour has been just so excited. We had to make them put their clippers away a couple times because everybody was tempted to grab some pieces, but there's just so much here. So tell us a little bit about maybe the sections that are within the nursery and how people can find beautiful things here.
All right, yeah, so we have several different sections within the nursery. A lot of it is just basically according to plant size.
Okay.
And then the next step is full sun, partial sun, or shade. So And we try to break it up more into shrub sections, tea sections, houseplant sections, and even succulents.
Oh, the succulents were fabulous. We have a whole section over there that we went to. You can buy individual pots, or they have some collections already put together with mixed textures and colors within the succulents that were there. Some of the things I saw that I loved, some of the hybrid hibiscus plants were just gorgeous with incredible color palettes to them and patterns that I've not seen elsewhere. You have beautiful lipstick plants here. You have crotons and palms. The terrestrial orchids were like no others I've ever seen, that for me would probably take a whole life just to keep it alive. And here apparently people could just put them in the ground and they're like a ground cover and will spread and will propagate themselves within there. My favorite thing I have to say of the whole tour was that jade vine. It's an incredible plant. You see the vines themselves grow up from the roots and climb on a tree and start to wrap around, but then it's just cascading beautiful flowers in almost a teal blue kind of a coloration that would remind people on maybe the east coast of the United States of wisteria in the structure and how they are pendulous. They just kind of drop down. But the color is like none other, and I know here on the islands, they're a very prized item for lei making. Is that correct?
That's correct. They just make the most beautiful and unique leis. Such a unique flower.
They're gorgeous. They're
are.
gorgeous. And I think I could probably spend an entire day or two here and keep finding things. So if you have the chance to come here to Seascape Nurseries, please do. We're going to put their business card information up on the webinar, so you'll have their contact information. Are you able to ship to the other islands here or to the mainland if people need?
Not to the mainland, but we do shipping to other islands.
Great. So all the other people that are watching us from the other islands of Hawaii, take note. It's a real treat. Get here if you can, but if not, call up, talk to Rob, and see what he can bring from his collection to your yard and to your garden and to make it a beautiful spot. So thank you so much, Rob. We appreciate your tour. You are a fabulous tour guide. And we're going to head over to the next nursery, so we'll see you all in a little bit. Thank you. Bye now. Next up, we're at the Kauai Ag Station, which is an extension of the University of Hawaii. They do a lot of research here and plant things and keep some great data on these plants and how they're growing. So at this location, we were able to see some ginger and some heliconia and protea that this research lab is keeping real close tabs on to see what's the best environment that it grows on, which plants do well on this island at this altitude and with the type of soil that's here, so that they can pass this information on to growers throughout the islands to see which products are going to be best fitted to grow on each island.
So this is the eucalyptus trial that HFNA wrote a grant, and we were involved with statewide. As many of y'all probably knew, we had the ban on bringing in plants in the myrtle family back in 2020. I, being a bit of a seed hoarder, and ordered a bunch of eucalyptus right before the ban, and so found myself sitting on this kind of gold mine. We did tests of 3 different species. The common names vary on them, but this one I've heard called silver drop, Eucalyptus gunnii. Smaller foliage, this one also is a little bit softer, so it doesn't last as long as a cut, unfortunately. We tried, I think it was baby blue is kind of this furthest group. This one has the longest lasting. Unfortunately, we found out there's another fungus here that's affecting this one. We're working with, we think it's a fungus that's been described before this time, but you can see there's just kind of this like mix of kind of brown foliage and the green. Silver dollar is what we got it as, but you know, that kind of varies depending on who you ask. Eucalyptus cinerea, I think is the scientific name. It unfortunately doesn't have the fragrance that baby blue does, but lasts really well. And as you can see, grows way better than any of the other types so far. We also have a border, and all the plants that you see with foliage in the border pretty much are also this species. So we're growing up seedlings of this. We had one field day with a giveaway. I found another set of seeds in the back of a fridge, so I'm growing up seedlings from that. I'll be giving away more. But we're also just applied for another grant to try propagating the plants. We know on Maui that the baby blue will set seed after 20 or 30 years. So we're hoping we can kind of speed things up a little bit. And we've also noticed they're notoriously hard to propagate from cuttings. We do have Orville Baldos, who's the plant propagation instructor at the university, is focusing on them. And he had a few plants before the ban as well, so he has kind of a head start on it. But we're trying all sorts of different stuff. Maybe grafting onto other eucalyptus, since we have so many other types here. And we've also found, even just mixed in with the seed lots of the silver dollar, the silver drop, and the baby blue, you can see some of these off types, like kind of this kind of willowy sort of leafed one. There's others that are kind of pointier. Oh, and that's a really good example of what we see with the silver drop in terms of the rose beetle damage. So this is what I talk about in terms of, you know, a little bit that survived and everything else just got stripped off of it. So at this point, the only recommendation we've been able to make has been for the silver dollar in terms of something that grows well here, produces well here. We're also, as you can see, gonna be trying out different methods of kind of cutting them, keeping them growing. Some areas they do polarding, where they'll cut off at 3 feet and then let it stand up branches for about 10 years, cutting it back each year. We want to kind of try some different pruning techniques on them. And the other thing I've been trying out here is perennial peanut as a ground cover rather than shade cloth, just because we've had some issues with it, especially with the coconut rhinoceros beetle now. And it's done well, but as you can see, still needs some kind of weed management in addition to it.
Our final stop on our nursery tour here on the island of Kauai is the Kauai Nursery and Landscape. This has some incredible specimens of palms and blooming plants that people can use in their landscapes on the island, but also can be developed as cut flowers for us to use in our designs. We were treated to some incredible palms varieties, again, of which I've never seen before. There was heliconia that spanned a color range that was much wider than any palette I've experienced. And they also had many different tropical plants that we can again use and think about using as a source of flowers and foliage in our tropical designs.
Different categories, native plants, aquatic plants. We've got a vast selection of fruit trees, exotic fruit trees, citrus, breadfruit, really nice variety of things, and we ship to the outer islands quite a bit. We also do have a really nice veggie and herb selection. Come on into our greenhouse.
Hi everybody, Tim Farrell here again. We are at another nursery now. We are at the Kauai Nursery and Landscaping Company on the island of Kauai, and we just had a fabulous tour of this entire facility. This is my new friend. This is Kanan Kavai Halal.
Yeah.
Kanan, thank you so much for the tour.
Of course.
You guys know so much about plants, and you're doing many good things here. You have many plants for people to use in their gardens across the islands, and they're also propagating some things here and developing some beautiful varieties and species of plants that, I mean, if you come here, your mind will be blown. So tell us a little bit about your job and what you do here.
I'm one of the propagators here at Kauai Nursery and Landscaping. I sort of specialize in the natives, mostly. I do a lot of seeds, cuttings.
It's so much bigger than I could have ever even imagined.
Yeah.
Lots of different sections with, you know, native plants in one area, so maybe bedding plants in another. Beautiful selection of orchids, succulents, giant specimen palm trees that people can just plant right in the yard and they're ready to go. Like, it looks like it's been growing there probably for 50 years.
Yeah.
With the size of some of this product. What's your favorite thing in this entire complex? What's your favorite plant that's here?
I have a special affinity for the ohia plants. That's one of the main things I've tried to increase production on when I moved to propagation.
So explain to our audience, what is the ohia plant? What is it? Can you describe what it looks like?
I
Is it flowering?
could.
Or is it...
Well, ohias, the scientific name is Metrosideros polymorpha.
Okay.
And that just means there's a lot of different morphs from within that genus. So plants within that genus can look different from one another. They have a lot of different morphs. So I think that's one of my favorite things about them. They come in a bunch of different colors, a bunch of different shapes, different leaves. Yeah.
So I was really able to go around this nursery and take a lot of really great close-up pictures of even just the different leaves, and you will be amazed at the different variations in color, the different shapes and forms of leaves, but also even texture. There's so much texture here that your hands just want to get in and explore everything that's there. So this is really a gardener's dream for anybody, anywhere around the world to come here. You would be totally impressed at the selection of what's here and the variety and the care that's taken to make everything so beautiful. So before we go, tell us a little bit the lei that you have on. What is that? What's it made of, and who made it for you?
So I made the lei. Yeah. So we store a lot of seeds here, and as new batches of seed produce, we harvest and we mostly throw out old batches. So we want to keep our propagation material fresh. So the brown seed is ear pod. We have 2 large trees on property that produce seed for us. And then the black seed is velvet seed.
And it is like velvet, so just look at it and touch it. So it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Katie, for your work here, what you do, for allowing our entire team to come in and tour the property, and for allowing us to share this with all of our viewers of the webinar.
Thanks
so
for
much.
visiting us.
All right,
Yeah.
see you soon, I hope.
Yep, for sure.
Aloha.
Aloha.
So the day following our main stage presentation, we were able to produce a workshop for 25 designers to join us and experiment in using some of the tropical as well as temperate flowers in our designs. We were fortunate enough to be able to procure some incredible blooms, and each student was asked to try to replicate the design that I created or go off on their own using the principles and elements that were taught in the workshop.
This morning we covered some elements and principles of design by Tim and Dottie. They covered 3 different styles or types of arranging. And so this afternoon what we're going to do is Holidays in Hawaii again, Floral Design Workshop. We'll cover a hands-on workshop now that Tim will take the lead on. This should be really fun. Any questions first? Otherwise I'm going to ask Tim. Take it away.
Okay, thanks again, Eric. You guys are awesome. All right, nobody taking a nap now after lunch. It's time to work, right? So we're going to do a little hands-on project, and what we figured the best thing to do was, because of the experience levels being so different, instead of me doing this with you one step at a time, what I'm going to do is create the project and then let you go back to the tables, and then you can try to recreate it exactly as is, or you can do your own thing, go your own direction, or just try something new. What we want everybody to understand is this is a safe place. So there's, this is not a competition. There's no gold star given out, no $100 bill at the end, but it's a place to experiment and to try to expand your horizons and go out of your comfort zone to do something new. And that's really when creativity becomes its best. All right, so you ready to have some fun? Yeah. Okay. So this is the design that we're going to create. So it may be different than what some of you are used to doing. It may be very much similar to what you're doing, but hopefully there'll be something different in all of this for everybody. So what we have back at everybody's table, we have a starter pack of beautiful tropical flowers that come here from the islands of Hawaii, and we have some foliage at your table, and that's pretty much the same for everybody in the room. To start, and we have, this is the container. This is part of the, I believe it's part of the Eco Essential line from the Smithers Oasis Company. So this is a container that is biodegradable, actually. It feels like plastic, it's not. It takes a long time to break down, but it will break down eventually. But I love, isn't the shape of that container just really, really interesting? You know, it almost has like a wave kind of to it. So I like the fact that it's not so static and so sharp or so square, but it'll work nicely with that. So we will start with this. We have at everybody's table, and I believe in the container, there's already a half a block of foam in the container. Ideally, we probably would have taped these in, but I think it's steady enough to just be there by itself right now. But we have the foam in the containers for you already. And we're going to start with, this is basically the combination with a couple flowers I picked that were different. But for me, what I'm going to do is look at this, and it actually is a little bit different. There's one side that dips lower than the other side. So this side I'm going to use as the front of my container. So I might face that towards me at first. And I think I will start by the insertion of the first vertical line, and that's with the psittacorum. And that we want to make sure is pretty darn strong and pretty straight, because that's your initial line in this design. If you have it slanted to one side, and it can be off center, it doesn't have to be center, but if it's slanted, you're going to need something to balance it from the other side. So the easiest way is probably to start with that. And then we're going to take the 2 anthurium leaves, and we're going to work these into the design. And we're going to look at them again, and we're going to insert one here, and then one a little bit lower right there, maybe even lower than that, like that. So can you see what we've done here? So in this, we are incorporating with these 2 leaves a technique in design that's called shadowing. And shadowing, it falls under the element of space, so it's a spatial technique. But what we're doing is we're using the space between these 2 to become effective. And one looks like it could be the shadow of the other. It's the same thing placed. If the sun was coming this way, this might be the shadow of this one because of the way the sun was coming down that way. So that's called shadowing in design. And we're going to balance that on the other side with 2 of the hala. And we're going to take this one out, laying it almost right into, I don't like things to touch the table if I can help it on a design like this. We're going to take that one out, and what I'll do is a lot of times, instead of putting it in like that, I'll actually take the knife and carve it into like a spear shape, so it pierces the foam easier and kind of slides in there. And we're going to kind of mimic that line as well also. So we have that as well. So there we got the 2 hala and the 2 anthurium leaves in there. So the question I usually get at this point in time from most students is, I thought you're never supposed to use even numbers. Has anybody heard that before? Yeah, the rules in floral design. The arrangement always needs to be 1.5 times the height of the container. Never use even numbers, always use odd. You can't combine tropicals and temperates. There are no rules in floral design, none. So if anybody says there's a rule, they're wrong to begin with. There are guidelines and there's suggestions for people to start, but it is an art. And once we learn the art, we can kind of break those guidelines and bend them and sometimes snap them in half, as long as we know what we're doing to kind of balance it and make it a beautiful creation in the long run. So even this, just having one of this, sometimes people say 1 is a mistake, 2 is purposeful, 3 is repetition. So 1 can be okay sometimes. If there's just 1 flower and it makes a line, you can leave it alone like that. That's okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get the red tie, and I'm going to get some depth in this design. So this is the back, so I'm going to bring this way for a little bit. And so I want to have your eye to actually come through. Instead of it being, everything's kind of on this one plane right here in the middle, I want your eye to be able to come back and then come forward again. So by taking 2 of these and working them back in the design, can you see how your eye now is drawn towards the back? And then what I'll do is I'll create this area that's right here in the front. And that is the continuation. It's almost like it feels like it's ribbon, isn't it? That it comes in, it goes underneath these flowers, and it comes back out that way again. So what you're really ideally going to do is have this one is opposite this one is opposite this one. So it seems like the same material coming through the design. So we'll take this first one, and again, what I'll do is I'll cut it to like a sharper edge, almost like a spear, and I'm going to roll it. If the tea leaf has a very hard vein in there, you can actually just get your knife and slice it down and get rid of that spine, we'll say, so it becomes a little bit more fluid and able to be curved. You don't want to go all the way through the leaf, but you're just carving out just the back, and you'll feel that vein on the back of the tea leaf is flatter on the front and rounder on the back. Just cutting a little bit out of that, so see how it becomes much more pliable like that? And if we take that and we actually pierce the leaf with its own stem, and we put this in here, see how this now becomes a continuation of this one, right here. All right, so that's a continuation of this line that we have going from front to back. So what's next? I think I would probably prefer to put the spectabalis in next because it's such a large stem. And before I have a network of things I can't get anything in anymore, I'm going to put this in. And almost a little bit in front, but dead center of this. Pop that in there and see the visual weight, how that's such a big heavy item. It looks heavy and it is actually heavy too. It gives you nice stability right in the center of the design. So it's almost like right underneath this psittacorum and becomes a nice little focal area for the design there. The next thing I will do, I'll take a little bit of this protea foliage, and what I'm going to do is take off a couple of leaves and save them because we're going to need them for another part in a little bit. Just put them aside for now. And then cut some pieces, and for this one, I think I've worked them, yes, into the back of the design, and cut them off right above where all the leaves come together so there's not like a blunt stem there. And just put these in together almost like, do you guys use pittosporum as a foliage here on the island? Almost like little groups of pittosporum. Just put them in together. And that will cover part of the foam on that side of the design. And then if we take the Ming, oh, we have more, good. Let's take out some leaves from the bottom, put them aside, and we'll take some of this and maybe bring this right to the front here. This might be nice. So one thing you may want to think about for people that are newer, for the students especially, if you haven't worked with foam a lot, you don't want to put flowers in and take it out again and leave a hole. If you put something into the foam and it's really a bad placement, if it's not too bad, leave it. If it's really a bad placement, cut it out and leave the stem that's in the foam, because holes in that foam actually make that structure weaker. And you can start, if you have like Swiss cheese in there, it will fall apart at some time. So always just either leave the stem or try to live with it and adjust it in another way. So we're going to take this. This is Ming fern, and this is a beautiful foliage. And again, for a holiday type of a situation, it looks a little bit like Christmas tree. It looks a little bit like bonsai. It blows away really easily if you have a fan going above you. We're going to try to, again, just put some clusters of this together and zone them in areas to start to cover the foam there, just down low. I think that's all we need is just a couple pieces down low in this design. And you can see how quickly it's starting to become an arrangement, isn't it? And we may want to cut a little bit more off, but we're always going to save a little bit for the end because there just might be that one spot that we have that just needs more coverage that we don't see, so we're done and we really go back and look at the entire design. Let's do the brighter red. We're going to take two of these. I might have to turn this around so I can look at this for a second. And we're going to, I put them on that side? Yeah, we'll put them on that side again. We're going to bring these as a 1-2 movement back into one corner. And I can see how they repeat each other there. Now see how effective 2 becomes now in this design? Whereas it's an even number, but it becomes really strong because you see 2 of this, 2 of that, and those pairings really become very strong as far as a design element. And we're going to take 2 of these red anthurium, and we're going to bring these out to the front, repeating one after the other. And again, when you have the pairs, if you can, let them mimic each other as far as the way the flower's facing, the way the spat is pointing, the way the stem is going in. That becomes more effective that way as well too. So in looking at this, what's it missing right now? Like, is there anything to say it's missing something? Focal point. Yeah, it needs a real strong focal area there. And we're gonna, I think it should be right about here, don't you? Like right in that area. So we're gonna just take maybe, which one should we use? I think this one. It's not as big. We're going to pop that right down there. So other than being a focal point, what does that flower do? Something we mentioned this morning. Fragrance. Adds fragrance to the design. What else? Adds contrast. It also unifies the design because the color of the container, it's now up inside here, right? So we've now unified. It got a little bit of that coloration up there. We're going to take some of these dahlias, and these are really like, they're very unusual, aren't they? The color of them is like a really light taupe. you know, almost in those muddy tones that are so popular right now. And we'll take a couple buds. This may end up being different than that just because I'm going to place these where I think they need to be now, as opposed to following that arrangement exactly. But just bring them back here and see how, like, again, a little bit more complex in color theory. But if we're talking about the white families, this is still in that white family, but with a little bit of color. But because it's back further, it looks even darker, and it is darker, but it looks darker, so it gives you more depth because the brightest white is the front, the darker whites are back further. So it looks like it's been shadowed and just a little bit further away. So we've continued that color, this color, back into this design. Even though it's not the same color, it continues it back into the design. And we'll take another one as well, and maybe bring that back even further, and it may not even be as visible from the front, but it'll be here. Yeah, we got that there. What else do we have? Just because I have it, beautiful rose in a peachy tone, and now see how that rose, it almost becomes a transitional color between the spectabalis and the peony, because it kind of brings a little, it's color, wash, white. So it kind of gives you a transition there. So it starts to connect that a little bit. And then what else? I don't think we need, okay, not too much more on. That's the basic placement of flowers in the design. So, other than that, does anyone know what this vine is called? What is it? Yes, this is, we just made this with wire, tape, and leaves from the protea plant. So look how beautiful that is. I mean, from a distance, you have people that are like, flower people are like, what is that? I've never seen that type of vine before. What is that? You know, especially because it has like the silvery outside, the darker green inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some of these. And I'm gonna show you the technique right now how to make these. It's so simple, but it achieves such a great effect altogether. This is a combination of the rustic wire and these vines that we've created. So I'm gonna hang that there for a second. And I'm gonna get some wire. And so basically the technique is, what you want to do is take the leaves that you've taken off the protea plant and start to put them together in pairs of similar sizes. They don't have to be exactly the same. If we take a wire, so for the students, maybe you might not have done this. This is called wiring and taping. So we take a wire. This is number 23 gauge wire. So if we take a wire and we just completely tape it, what I do with the floral tape, I keep this in my hand. The floral tape is, it's a type of paper, but it has like a waxy material in there that as you wrap it, you should stretch it, pull it and wind at the same time, or pull it and wrap at the same time. And it releases like just a little bit of like an adhesive material that it sticks to itself. But the trick is really pulling it and stretching it and wrapping it. You don't ever want to make a club. People that are new to wiring taping will wire flowers and have like you know, a Band-Aid full of tape in one spot. Keep it real thin, keep it real tapered, and that works out well. If you get 2 of these protea leaves and you face them in towards each other on this, and you take that tape and you spin it around there, that's how you get that. And then we'll take another set and we'll put that maybe here. And we're going to tape them together as well too. Just spin and wrap and pull. Spin and wrap. You're pulling the tape and spinning it and wrapping it at the same time. This is basically what you end up with, something just like this. Now, so if we just get a pen and we take this and we wrap it around the pen in a spiral, see how it looks like a little tendril? And if you wrap these and start taping sections of wire like this onto each other, you get the long versions like that. But see that? So there's like the little tendril just from wrapping the pen like that. So it's a great, really inexpensive way to get like a vine-like kind of a material. That'll give you these tendril kind of fashions. And you know, once the floral tape is on there, they stick to each other really well. You can just wrap them around each other. So we're gonna take a piece of this rustic wire, which is the heavier wire, and we'll take a piece that's about, let's say, we'll say this long now, yeah. And we're going to spiral it counterclockwise. and go for a little bit more and spiral it counterclockwise. And then maybe a lot more. You don't want it to be real pattern. You want to kind of have randomness to it as well too. And spiral it, and we'll just leave like this like this. And if we take this, and let's say on this arrangement, let's go from here to right behind the peony. There's one circle. And look at that interesting space that that just creates, just having this in here. So we're gonna take another piece that's even longer maybe. So we're gonna take this one and maybe start this one down low in the front. Get that into the foam. And sometimes if you don't feel like the wire is gonna hold itself, put a little piece of stem and tape it to the bottom of the wire and it'll hold there. And then we will get some of these garlands that we've created. And I think just like that. So, and that's our completed design. So you see there's really strong static lines in here, but then there's also really dynamic lines with the wires and the tendrils and stuff like that kind of just interplay and make this thing really look like it's almost like it's got this initial motion like boom, like this is what happened first, but then all this kind of came and just kind of crawled along and found its way around where it is. So like this is the kind of design I love to do. You know, I hate to make that regular round arrangement. I like to do things that have like, you know, openings and things that the more you look at it, the more you appreciate it, and little techniques that are just something different. So that is basically the design. Anybody have any questions? You ready to get into the flowers? Okay, so go back to the tables, choose a table, and once you're chosen, we won't say if we're starting with the left side of the room or the right side of the room first, but we'll start to say, on this side, we'll start with tables to go pick some other flowers. So. We spent a great amount of time afterwards reviewing the designs and looking at each designer's interpretation of what was done. And I know for me, it was a great experience to learn from the other designers. And I think the whole group learned from each other and walked away from this being a better floral designer. How many times have you made floral designs before?
This will be my second time making like an actual floral design thing.
Pretty darn good, huh? Second time, that's great. I think my second design was a bud vase with one rose in it and baby's breath. That was good. So the students here are actually going to a competition in, is it Illinois? Indiana. And when is that going to be?
It is in October.
October, great. So this is a great opportunity for you to be here, and we're so glad to have you here too. So tell the other students what your thought process was in creating this. What was your idea?
Well, at first, I kind of felt like I wanted to do something with like the pinks and like you said, have like the different varieties of like the different colors. And then I thought of adding the yellow because I feel like pink and yellow are kind of contrasting colors. And then I just like the orchid because it stand up and gave me the height as well with these pieces, and they both kind of turn up. That's kind of it. I just kept going.
Great. So everybody, what do you think? Good job? Especially for second arrangement, right? You have good instinct, because that kind of stuff doesn't usually just happen unless you know what you're talking about. So great job there. But the pairing of the anthurium leaves, the pairing of the anthurium, this colorful focal area is good. And look at she took the Dracaena leaves and manipulated them to make almost like a little flower out of the Dracaena leaves there. Your name?
My name is Kayla.
Kayla, and you're also in this competition coming up in October?
Yes.
And how many arrangements or how many years of designing have you been doing?
This is my second arrangement.
Just another second, right? So I like the pairings, the twos. This is an interesting space that was created. It could be even stronger if you could have somehow bought that. Like you can almost insert those two pieces of willow like spokes out this way. And if you bring them in together and tie them with a little piece of bind wire, it'll actually create a bigger frame for this whole thing. It would even make it even more, it's pretty as is, it would make it more magnificent. Wow, man. So this is a nursery, man. So like, wow, like, you know he understands the material and the product. Do you design much, the flower design?
Not that much.
No? Tell us about what you did here.
The only organization I had was my color scheme. I knew I wanted to do darker. I think I would change this around the second time.
I love these arachnous orchids back here to bring the red, which picks up on the leucadendron, which is here too. Height is great, and the vine going through there, the gloriosa, I think you did a really good job. Get it? It just changes from so much volume to this, and it becomes less of a heavy item. It
It's
also
like amazing though, because I tried turning it and
it wouldn't do it for you?
no.
This has been an incredible couple of days for me on the island of Kauai, and I know in talking to the designers that joined us, they love the experience too. We're hoping that through these videos, you were able to get a little taste of the nursery tour, the main stage presentation, and the hands-on workshop, and that you're able to apply some of the lessons that are learned to your work in floral design. Feel free to watch these over and over again or share them with your fellow floral designers so that they can learn from them, and more important, try to make it a point to join us in a future year in one of these nursery tours as well as workshops that we have on the beautiful islands of Hawaii.
Hi, everybody.
Wow, that was amazing.
Wasn't
That was
awesome?
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it makes me want to come back to Kauai again. It's a beautiful place.
The sooner the better, he told me. I wanted to
Well,
make,
actually, that was a pretty complete education, wasn't it?
it was.
I mean, right from the program, lecture, and then hands-on. It was
Exactly.
awesome.
Wonderful. The FFA students that we had there from Kauai were going on to the national championships. We didn't
That's
find out,
fantastic.
have not found out yet how they did, but HFNA supported a portion of their travel to get them there. Just,
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
so
Wow.
we're really proud of those girls and what they did. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't have any questions at this point from our listening audience.
I have a question right here.
Go for
Right
it.
here. Okay, so this is a question for James. James, thanks for the explaining import replacement project with eucalyptus. Now, what other ongoing projects are currently being studied and researched right there at the Ag Station? Anything else going on?
Yeah, thanks so much, Hitomi. We have tons of stuff going on. It's kind of the sky's the limit just based on, how many hours of sunlight we can fit into a day. But one big thing we're working on is trying to propagate a bunch of the plants that have been popular. We did 2 surveys for florists and growers over the last few years to see which flowers in our kind of bank of different ornamental plants were most interesting. And so now we're working on trying to propagate those and get them out. I think we saw kind of that orange flower that folks were holding near the eucalyptus. That was really high on the list. I'm also working with different types of ornamental turmeric or olena, as it's known around here. It's something that I think a lot of florists here think of as more of kind of a spring plant, but we have some new cultivars. I think I've up to 23 different cultivars now, some of which are just opening up now. So it's really kind of extending the season, and we want to see how those do here. And then just always looking for plants too. I've seen some growers on the mainland who really are enjoying kind of using pitcher plants as foliage, and I want to see if we can maybe get those going. So yeah, always new stuff in the works.
Wow, that's great. That was fantastic. So there was another question asking Johnny, because I know that you were there for the tour. Are those nurseries, are they wholesalers or retail?
As far as I know, the Seascapes Nursery, which is located in Kilauea on Kauai, of course, they pretty much are retail. They may have some wholesale accounts. We don't know, but I think they're pretty much retail. Yeah, James?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is mostly retail, but do have a few wholesale and kind of landscape accounts.
But those of you watching are from Kauai or that come visit Kauai, please visit Seascapes Nurseries. They have an abundance of varieties of potted plants and foliage. It's amazing the size of and the extent of the products that they do have. The next place we went to, of course, was the Kauai Ag Research Center. And thanks, Tim and James, for a great tour. And I just wanted to say that for our listening audience, that Dr. James Keach has been such a blessing to our island when it comes to ornamental and nursery. He's always there. He's very approachable. He has a listening ear, and he's very knowledgeable in what he does. So we're grateful for for having such a great extension agent as you are, James. Thank you.
Right back at you, Johnny. I felt so lucky, having you at the beginning to kind of show me the ropes with all your years of experience too. So I feel like it's a real give and take in the best possible way.
All right, buddy. Terrific, terrific.
Actually, I just want to make a comment about the extension agents. I think they're just awesome because they actually, for designers as well, gives us a nice connection at an ask person that makes us feel comfortable to ask all these questions that may be sometimes a simpleton question, but it really helps us understand so much better as designers as well. Don't you think there, Tim?
Absolutely. And James, you were so great with our entire group as we toured the ag station to explain what was happening, because there's things that many of us as floral designers would never even think about that happen behind the scenes, and especially the timeline and how long it takes to go from seed to an actual plant that you're going to be recommending to be grown on the island. So thank you so much for that information. It helps us all know a little bit more about the industry and just makes us better at what we do.
The third place that we visited was Kauai Nursery and Landscaping, which is located in Puhi, which is very close to our Kauai Community College. And they have so much product. Wonderful. And they are even certified to ship plants. They have a certified nursery area where they can ship plants for you to the mainland, either for yourself or gifts for friends. So they've been friends of ours for many, many years. It's a family-owned operation. The Nishek family are the owners of Kauai Nursery and Landscaping. So those were the three places that we went to on Kauai.
That's cool. Very cool. Great tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
So were there any, Tim and Dottie, were there any questions from the students that you would be interested to share with us that was a teaching moment? Does that make sense? I mean, sometimes we often learn from it, and I saw that with those students that were going to FFA, like some of them it was their only second time designing, and I was just amazed at how good that they managed their assignments. And so
Dottie, I'll go first on that one. I guess the thing that I think jumped out at me most was the FFA students. We really, I think, lit a fire under them as far as design and the art side of the horticulture industry. And a lot of them have been given a lot of information as far as the technical side and growing things and production, but they really seem to be very interested in the design side and what you can do with these beautiful things once they're harvested. So some of their questions there really, it made me think and made me interested in even finding more young students to help to motivate to become floral designers and great floral designers.
I just think that they were very lucky at such an early stage of learning to design to have had some of the lessons like you provided that gave them a little bit more connection to the artistry of it. Because I think so many of us start out just jamming flowers and making it round, and making it another round, and making it a triangle. Like you actually challenged them to really design something that was compositionally sound. And to get that kind of a experience early on, I think might change their life.
We hope so. What do you think, Dottie?
Well, as I said in my presentation earlier, I had no concept of line. And that was something that you gave them because you said, well, this creates a line, this creates shadowing. And so they are way ahead because everybody just kind of fumbles through trying to learn these things. And well, how come that arrangement looks so pretty and mine looks kind of flat, you know? And you gave them an awareness of why.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a challenge for all the designers out there watching this webinar. If there's one thing you do after leaving this webinar, even other than becoming a better designer yourself, find a young person and give them teach them and motivate them and tell them what our industry is about, because we need a younger generation to come in and take our places someday. But it's going to take an effort on all of our parts to find people and to look for talent and to really help cultivate that talent as best we can to ensure the very best future for the floral industry and especially the floral design side of the industry.
That's an excellent
well said.
comment.
I love that.
Excellent comment, Tim. And I must say, we are so grateful to our sponsors that provided all the different tropical flowers and foliages. The students were, the participants in the workshop were just amazed. They had seen product that they've never seen before, and they had so much fun. They had fun. They had a lot of fun. And with yours and Dottie's guidance, it made it even better. So thank you so much.
That was fabulous.
Well,
yes.
Thank you, Dottie, very much. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. And we're going to end this session, but we're going to do a little wrap-up after we see you guys off. So we'll see you later.
Thank you all. It was fantastic. Great job on
Bye,
Kauai,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks for having us be a part.